Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen. Episode 3, number 363. Wait, is this? I got the Upshot intern up in here. As the junior intern to the senior intern of Permissionless, I welcome the Upshot intern. Interns need to stay together. That's my thoughts. If Upshot does not want to come up, because I do see them rocking the one dick two butts. Dick butts. There was a secret code last year on dick butts. Yeah, no. GM, I saw that wave. Very interesting enough. We have to when we're doing this, we're hosting this across 8 spaces at once, which as an intern, it sort of puts things hard, But it's an interesting take to do it all. I personally enjoy it. We get to have a lot of fun with this. As we're coming out with episode 363, we are getting ready for Friday. Friday is going to be the day. It's going to be the day where we talk what's been like for running a single show for a year every day. And when people ask me, they're like, even on weekends? Yes, even on weekends. That is what a daily show means. So it is, one of the fun things. Tonight, we are going to be going over 2 things. We're going to be going over Zen midweek review, as well as what Zen education is going to be looking like. Been having to lock in an education purpose on first principles that have the opportunity to share that with 50,000 users on a platform where on average 15 to 30,000 people actually take the course, and being given the opportunity to provide not 1 but 2 educational courses. First principles get talked about all the time, but being able to create something that is bite-sized and engaging enough that something might stick in someone's mind is going to be really fun. So I'm excited to see how that goes. But at the same time, nervous on it, so having to work on social media aspects for the platform, having to put together, all the last minute things. It's been a really amazing thing. One that we've been working on a little bit is, what does first principles mean in active use? And so have been sort of looking at that from the space side of, do you make it sexy and interesting, or do you just go and you stick with the basics, on the side of permissionless? And that's actually where met the Upshots intern was thanks to permissionless. So that's going to be a really fun conference in Austin, September 11th, 12th, and 13th. Have some amazing interviews lined up with some amazing builders in blockchain. We've gone over regulation the last couple of days. Well, the last week since the amicus brief has been launched on behalf of Coinbase, and where they sort of lay out that when others put forth effort, it is not a securities contract, and sort of shove it in the SEC's face. There's been a lot of stuff going on crazy this past week, but the big thing within Zen just had an amazing Sunday service, talking about some of the things building on Zen. It's going to be really interesting to see how X1 integrates more with the Libre team and the Libre wallet as it works on its building a bridge from X1 to Bitcoin directly. There will be that function of VMPX as an Ethereum token bridge. So it's going to be, to me, that makes it a little bit more secure. All bridges have their own vulnerabilities, and if they don't have vulnerabilities, they are constantly the victim of attack. When you have a one value token that is what's being used to transmit value, it does bring a little bit of security into it and safety. And so really interesting to see how they build that out into a trustless system. Some of the things that Zen has really been pushing is that, the first principles side of things, decentralization. And I think that, people will be really interested in what they have going on. And so I just sort of like, under the aspects of a lot of different things, you know, personal ownership really brings something really interesting to um, it scares some people. I've seen this and I've had this conversation with a couple people where they don't really understand why they would want to own their own assets. And, then it's, then the idea that the counter argument is, well, then you're just selling everything to anyone. And, well, if that's already happening, why should you not get a piece of your own pie? And so those are really valid points of view from someone on a non-blockchain perspective. Because some people, they really dislike the idea that they're just data, that they're just points, that they are value, that they're a commerce center of data, that it freaks them out. And so they choose to ignore it. Now, what's really cool is if you look at it from a different perspective, you don't have to look at crypto as just dollars and cents. That's what a lot of people, look at that for. But the idea that Ethereum came around with smart contracts wasn't just commerce, wasn't just the transmit of dollars from my pocket to your pocket in some shape or form. Smart contracts allowed new tokenization approaches to come on. And so there was a lot of really cool things that we got to see with that. Now, one of the things that I hated the most about Ethereum not when it first launched, but shortly after it launched, was the original fork. I didn't know what to do with all my Ethereum Classic. I held on to it for a while and then sold it all. But for me, that was such a boys club move that I thought we had moved beyond this. I understand, sometimes for the greater of all, sometimes some things have to be done. Hey, it was voted on, it was done, and it was basically say, this is going to be done, you can join us or not. And people with their own ways. We saw ETC sort of have its own life for a really long time, which was really amazing to see. It still continue even today. But as we start to see more projects building out, we see that community focus. Had an amazing call today with Meta Rides, and we started talking about not just interoperability of a project launching on multiple chains, but almost, I guess, the interoperability of communities, to where you can become central hubs for communities and communities overlap. And we know this happens. It's as simple as looking at what wallet is holding what project, what token. So obviously, individuals overlap different projects. Now, if these projects overlapped more, or at least partnered, as MetaRise and I were talking yesterday on an open space, open portals between different metaverses, daily active users could actually go up, because if I'm not just limited to one space and I can just roam freely, doesn't that open up the opportunity for me to roam as freely as I want? And who knows what I might find. But community-driven development is one of the major principles of the first principles. And so the aspect that teaching that in 50 words or less is the idea almost that, it can't be controlled by any one person. We see it changed. We see those rules of governance changed all the time by layer ones launching governance tokens in really weird acclimats. But at the same time, if you look at it, you can look at it from two sides. A lot of these chains, those governance tokens that are given out, whether some people feel it's unfairly or not, are given to those that want to see the chain continue to grow. That comes from active participants on chain, and that's where we see proof of participation really start to take a new effect. Everyone's worried about WorldCoin. We've been personally stamping our wallets for almost over a decade now, so that people know where our main public wallet might be. We see a lot of different analytic platforms like Arkham, Breadcrumbs, Skytrace, and Skynet come up to where it's very easy for people to trace wallets and tokens and where distributions are at. But we see a really cool aspect of communities, just individuals being able to go from community to community to community. I have seen some fun FUD between communities. So like a huge shout out to Bread, Bread and Toast versus Trash Pandas. With the advent of compressed NFTs, it cost about a soul to send out airdrop 10,000 NFTs. And so they sent out a piece of toast to anyone that was holding a Trash Panda NFT, like Trash Panda suck, toast rules, type of stuff. And they always have some Discord stuff going on. So it's really cool to see community involvement pieces going like that. So I do think that community-driven development is a really good pillar of first principles. How we'll get that down to 50 words or less, we'll see. Trustless transactions, what that sort of means is that at no aspect do you have to actually rely on someone else. You are technically relying on code. Now, if you go in, the aspect is that you're able to go look at code and understand what it means, or you put faith in a security company that promotes that it is that the contract does exactly what it's supposed to do. So trustless is a double-edged sword. At some point, trust has to be put into the system. And so really it's, do I trust that protocol? What are the red flags? And so, but where one thing does come into play in this is that I know that when I receive something, it is what it says it is. It's not going to necessarily lower the value of what I have just because I hold it longer. Now, the dollar value of it may change over time, as some exotic pairings will. But at the same time, the amount that I have of that token, I have 1 ETH. I will still have 1 ETH in a year if I don't touch it. And so that's sort of, really interesting aspect with it. Transparency is always a great thing. That's what got me into blockchain, consistency and transparency. So having block explorers, being able to understand block explorers, I go through block explorers and teaching the different functions of them all the time. So it's really fun to see. I actually have an interview set up with the founder of Etherscan set up, so that's going to be really cool to do and talk about how it started, where it went, where it's going, and some of maybe some alpha in there, maybe some secret tips and tricks that someone doesn't always use or utilize, or if people have questions about it, we'll see what we can get there. The other aspect of immutability, things that are when it says what it is, it will be that. Can't change. We see that in non-fungible tokens. Once contracts are released and then ownership is renounced or burned, we see a really strong case there of, we think that this is good enough as is, and no one can change it. So we see a couple different things there that allow a really good conversational starter for just information there. So we think that we have a good base. We're going to be able to work on that education a little bit and really sort of share that out. And what's really cool is it's going to be leading up to, sort of based on what the Zen community sort of empowers, and what it means at its core. Now, the Zen ecosystem has grown in the last year to over almost 30 projects. So to see one ecosystem that is not a layer one, but that is just a token, grow to 30 projects, it's sort of amazing. We've seen different projects show up for different meme coins here and there, but something that's there's a lot of interesting aspects to this, and this is what really I dig about Zen. Yeah, it's free. I just have to participate in the process, and so we see some really cool things there, and we hope that you'll see that too, or someone else will see that along the way. One of the things that really means a lot is some of the aspects of what this will look like coming up. After we get our first educational piece out, it's our second educational piece that is going to be on the same platform, and two, as that platform expands, we'll be able to either address the same group of people, or a completely different group of people, as that platform incentivizes users to be educated. We have a really amazing chance to just sort of showcase Zen. Zen has sort of led itself as, a launch token, renounced, and then left to the community to do with as they please. And we've seen it grow across now 12 chains, and over 80,000 wallet addresses, on ETH alone. I help, promote almost 10,000 addresses migrate into Moonbeam, and it sort of helping teach people how to use new blockchains that were just sort of maxis of ETH. Now looking at, 11 other chains that they used to hem and haw was, nothing. Now they get to see the power of cheap gas on other chains, and they get to see the projects and protocols that are building. And, ETH is a powerhouse. Don't get me wrong. It will be the foundational building block for all the layer twos and rollups. But then chains that might not be part of Ethereum or the Ethereum ecosystem, they make EVM parachains, or side chains that are then allowing people to interact and come over to their chains, or go from their chain over to Ethereum, is really awesome. We're seeing really cool standout coming out from Axelar with their interchain Quest and their multi-chain palette, their SDK that allows you to launch a contract that can be on any chain, and move around. And so it's, we see raids by different communities going into like different Discords or different Twitter spaces. But what happened if you sent your NFT on a quest across chains? Let's say you went to like Mithra, Cardano's EVM chain, or you used Wormhole to go from like Solana to Polygon, and then from Polygon over to Cosmos and into the Atom ecosystem, and next thing you know, you're on Juno. I hate Juno. I'm sorry, I hate Juno. I don't know why I said Juno. Excuse me. Or Osmosis. These are these things to where it's all on chain and recordable. So yeah, you could incentivize. Let's say I'm a DEX on Moonbeam. Oh wait, I am a DEX on Moonbeam. And there's a project on Polygon, and I'd be like, hey, I will incentivize your NFT community to come bring your NFT over to our DEX and try some trades on our DEX and head back over to you. Now, what happened if you were able to do that? Bring your NFT from Polygon all the way over to Moonbeam, make some transactions on Moonbeam, on my DEX, and then bring your NFT back over to Polygon. Now your NFT, your wallet has that history. And I think that things like that are just really, they're not too far away. As we've seen from the monolithic Rust chain, Solana. I love Solana. I love what they've done for communities. We've seen both DeGods and Utes move from Ethereum and Polygon. And now we're seeing Utes move again to Ethereum. Now, this is one of those funky things to where, people thought it was a fractured community that way. I think sort of the idea was to give each community its own ground, but I'm a little diabolical. So while I'm thinking of this, I sort of think maybe that might have been the play all along. Why? Because it puts a footprint where other people are, and maybe builds up some FOMO to where, why don't you come join us? Hey, now we're all going to go join the rest of the family. So, I get to go check in at different restaurants, see who's around, say, collect up some new people, and then like, hey, we're going to this joint next. It's a classic bar hopping move. When you're going with a group of friends, your group of friends just keeps growing. After a conference, it's the same exact way. Upshot, I do want to know if you do have any plans for consensus or for permissionless, any event plans. Do you have any?
My biggest event plan, by the way, I'm Greg. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, Greg.
Hey. Yeah, my biggest event plan is I've been throwing out the feelers. I'm trying to get some people going to my rock climbing gym in Austin, seeing if I can get anybody to come out to that.
Right there by, what is that? Like Cosmos?
That's Crux. Actually, I go to a different one called Austin Bouldering Project.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well, that might be cool. May I make a suggestion?
Please.
Just go make it a fucking Eventbrite thing. and just tag it with permissionless and everything. And, either make, I don't know what it costs to go. Like, so either work that into the ticket on Eventbrite or just put in there, you'll pay your own way. But if you just go make it, an event on Eventbrite, you will be surprised. You might even get a taco that signs up.
I'll take you up on that. That's a good idea. I haven't thought about that. I was curious, like you're almost coming up. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. You're almost coming up on your full year of doing your daily bite. I'm just wondering what lessons you've learned or what things that you've done that have worked well for you in order to make this worthwhile.
Oh man, that is a hard question there. Let's see here. What have I learned? Well, I have made a lot of different, I don't want to say mistakes along the way. I like to bill this as the worst daily show you never heard of. And why have you never heard of it? Because I break one of the number one tenets of blockchain: consistency. The only thing that I am consistent on is I'm consistently inconsistent, but daily. So finding a good time and setting that and sticking to that. There's been times where it is 11:59 p.m. and just because like a conference and after event just got so crazy, next thing you know, I'm starting a space at 11:59, but I got it in. I think that would be one of the biggest things. It's sort of grown over the year. Now, I used to just take the recordings and upload them to YouTube. Now I stream live to 2 different YouTube channels, Twitch, Telegram, Xenon, and another on-chain video platform, Unlonely. So I think finding out where you want to push it might be a good start. But I think it's just, you got to feel your own way. I run, one of the things that is consistent is end every show with words of wisdom and the best worst knock knock joke on the face of the planet. But I do it sort of as an homage to the spaces that came before me. Like I helped, as soon as Twitter Spaces opened almost 2.5 years ago, I ran away from Clubhouse and started doing these. And then I was like, I'm gonna make my own show, but I was hanging out way too much in Degens After Dark, which eventually turned into On-Chain TV. And it was Morgan who finally just like sort of kicked me in the butt enough, and she's like, just go do it, start tomorrow. And the next day happened to actually be a Tuesday, and so it was like, all right, this is how we're doing it. So
and how do you feel the content for all those hours of talking over the course of the year?
Oh man, blockchain is never disappoints. Especially, I just have to go to my Google and I search enough stuff on blockchain that Google always tells me what's up or down that day or what's promoted. But I also, I travel to all of these conferences, so I get to meet amazing projects, and so get to have, some of the craziest things on the show. I've had entire infrastructure blockchains on the show. I've even had Matt Stafford, who created the inverse Kramer, the ETF. And we got to talk about like what the Bitcoin ETF looks like from BlackRock, or I've had like, I think the funnest, worst project I've ever had was Rotten Eggs,
I'm not familiar.
Sort of an NFT project that's semi-rugged, but they just fell really, I can't say they rugged, they just fell super short of expectations. And they've just been slowly grinding away at what they're doing, creating the worst adult humor for eggs possible. But it's where like the teaser looked better than the reveal.
Gotcha.
And they bit off a little bit more than what they could chew, thinking that they could get something built right and in a certain amount of time frame. And so it's been interesting. But some of the funnest times have been like live shows, interviewing protocols and projects and founders, and just people new to blockchain on the spot, at the mid after event, and see what they're building, what their view on blockchain is, and how that turns out. So there isn't, I'm sure there's a secret sauce of who who you know. But finding a space and time that sort of fits within everyone else's day.
Right. And has this been, has it been worth your while so far? I mean, has it led to business opportunities? Has it led to relationships?
It has led to a lot of relationships. This is not what I do for business. I think, I wish there was an easy line to turn it into a business thing. Finding the right way to do that can be tricky, because what's really hilarious is as soon as you start making money from something, everyone sort of shouts out that you sold out, or that it doesn't meet some quality or standard. And you're like, wait, I never heard you once putting food on my table. So where do you get that? But then it's finding, like I've been approached by so many creepy projects that, I'll look into, and I'll be like, I just sort of ghost them. Like, I'm like, hey, I wish you the best. But, at the same time, it's really hilarious when I go to projects that I find really interesting, and I'm like, hey, I want you on my show. Can I interview you? And they're like, well, what is it going to cost? I was like, nothing. And what's really hilarious is when you tell someone it's free, you just want to tell other people about their protocol, they get so suspicious. It's hilarious.
Right. But I mean, the trust issues people have in this space, unfortunately.
It is. And so I think whether it's, whether it was a smart decision or not, I'm sort of chain agnostic, and project agnostic. I'm in 150 different discords. I got you know projects up my yin yang of what I know, because I've been in this for so long. Been in blockchain for over a decade. I've gotten to see a lot of different faces, and so when I decided to sort of make Wednesdays a little midweek review, I sort of added that to my spice for Zen, just because I felt that the way the main Zen sort of, Sunday service was going, was sort of just being sort of taken over by people that didn't really have Zen and, the right thing. And so they needed a space that, was consistent and sort of gave that not a, I don't want to say a safe space, but like a focus that wasn't about shit, like Sunday service is held by two amazing people, but sometimes they have a shit show. They know it. I've told them this. But they try and they continually do it. They don't try, they succeed. But sometimes in their effort to please everyone, they just sort of make it an unwelcoming space for new people. And that's not their intent, but that's sort of what it does. And so I like to sort of take my flair on it. And Xenians, I see you. And I like to take my flair on it. And, I'm like, if you don't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because what we see in projects, people that stick around and just talk shit, they're really just trying to get people. They're just trying to make people to sell so that they can buy a bigger position. They literally have it that they'll buy OTC from anyone on their page, or they have they just if they really disliked a project so much, why would they stick around? And some people find that they think that that's a really good way of gaining engagement, being a breaker and not a builder. I sort of went through a lot of shit in my life to realize that being a builder is better and easier than being a breaker. And I didn't want, and that's sort of what I decided I wanted to do. Now, did I get into Bitcoin for the best of purposes? No, I was running a sports book, but the technology and the idea behind it really sort of laid a really good foundation for me.
I love it. That's always going to be the foundation, especially, what you said about some of these conversations being really exclusive to outsiders, or very even difficult to understand for outsiders. That's why I appreciate just listening to you for the few minutes that I've been on, the few minutes that you and I have known each other. But I just appreciate your presentation style and the clarity with which you speak. It makes it really easy to understand, which I think is just such an important aspect of this space that when I hop onto Twitter Spaces is often lacking. So I appreciate that from you. As I wind down, I couldn't go to sleep. I was scheduling some shit posts for the upcoming week. I'm happy that I hopped on, but now it is time for me to go to bed. So I appreciate you, Taco.
I cannot wait to see your shit posts as one intern to another intern. What's I think I know what the 10-minute overview of Upshots is, but give me the 30-second TLDR.
Yeah, sure. So we are on a mission to make all illiquid assets liquid, as in all esoteric assets that cannot be brought on chain at this point because they're difficult to price, they're difficult to sell, they're difficult to buy. Maybe luxury goods, maybe commodities, maybe at this point in time PFPs. Our goal is to use machine learning to accurately price those items, bring them on chain, and then turn them into complex financial instruments.
Nice.
Who knows what that'll turn into, but right now it's a very interesting problem to solve.
Well, are you going to be tokenized perpetuals and stuff like that as well?
That's right. That's the goal. Is we want to enable tokenized perpetuals and any kind of synthetic financial instruments.
Nice. What chain?
Devs want to take it.
What chain are you building on?
We're an Ethereum chain, or we're an Ethereum protocol, and yeah.
Do you guys launch yet?
Yeah, so our API is live. We have developers signing up. We're working on enterprise clients as well. Right now, we're trying to get as many use cases as possible to try and figure out what people need, what people want, and what it is that people will need in the future, because we're trying to build for the next bear market or for the next bull market, and we want to be ready for that.
Nice. Are you guys participating in the permissionless hackathon as a sponsor in any way?
No, I believe I'm actually the only person from the company that's going to be on the premises, and I plan to attend some of those events, but we're not a sponsor.
Okay. So the hackathon is on the 10th.
So it's the day before the actual conference. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's going to be a really cool thing. That way you might find some devs, you might be able to say sort of what you're doing. And might be able to find some builders that can build something, and I don't know if you guys have enough time to put together a bounty program or something like that, but the best way to find use cases is to have builders randomly build the stupidest, funnest things,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll have to show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, I gotta head to bed.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Greg, it was great speaking with you. I hope to speak with you again, and love the crypto dick butt.
Likewise. All right,
bye. That was Upshot's intern. Literally, I think I just shit posted on him, not even 30 minutes ago. And, this is how relationships are built. One of the things I didn't get into that, he asked a question on was, what is the biggest thing that comes out of these spaces? And I think it's relationships and conversation pieces. I ran an 8-hour space the other day while I was driving from New York to Denver. And the talk we got to sort of have on what was being built out within Telos was and the doxed versus undoxed, really sort of set a really interesting paradox. And so I still believe in, someone is getting hired for who they are, not their name. Now, if they, their face is out there, their face is tied to stuff, I think that, you're more undoxed than some people that just have a PFP or even their face as a PFP, because how do I know that's really your face? But when we're on video all the time, like we are right now, showcasing this video live on the Jumbotron, I think that brings another layer to it. So it will be really interesting to see, really interesting to figure out what comes out with Upshots. Heck, just thinking on the fly here. What about sneakers? Sneakers are a highly traded commodity. What about tokenizing them? Speculative trading on, please forgive me if you love sneakers, but your Jordan Air Max 1 reverse swoosh A&D, or something like that. I don't know. And what that could do as a tokenized asset, or even part of that is actually fractionalized shares. You have one item that now has 1,000 pieces of it, and you get, if you're like Pokemon and you collect them all, you get the item. So that's an interesting aspect to sort of see. Really crazy things are being built, so really cool to see a protocol that's trying to make that easier. Sometimes some people might feel that speculation can be the downfall, but speculation can also be what drives that interest to real world uses as well as real world interest. So finding that bridge between real world assets and on chain might be a really interesting thing. That could be anything from trading cards, and we've seen that with NBA Top Shots. We've seen that with I don't know if I can, Magic the Gathering might be coming on chain. I don't know if I can say that. I said that, and I said I don't know if I can say that, so I did say it. So that's an interesting aspect. But I'm really excited, sort of what's coming out. Made a brand new friend in Greg, and we have a Field Whisperer with us, tonight. So rocking that bridge with that VMPX in between. And so, it's been an interesting week. As we get these assets out and this education piece built, I'm really sort of excited to see what comes. This is an education, it might be 60 seconds, 70 seconds long because, it's going to be 6-10-second things followed by a 5-question test, multiple choice question test, but it lays the groundwork to then teach people about the Zen ecosystem and what is being built on Zen. So if I'm teaching 15,000 new people, well, 50,000 people use the app. On average, 13 to 30,000 people take these tests because the platform incentivizes them. Let's just say 15,000 people take this test. How many people bring new eyes to this? I think that's a really interesting aspect. I think I'm going to be really excited to see how many new people come about from this, and what this will do for the Zen ecosystem. What this will do for VMPX, BRC20, and the ERC20 version. So, but starting off with a course on first principles, I've talked with Jack, I've talked with Sun Tzu. They are on board with it, and I'm just excited to be, that I came up with this random fucking idea, and I'm going to implement it. I've been building so many different little things here and there. I put a shit ton of taco tokens out on like every chain possible. I think I just launched shares of myself on Base. So you can go and find shares of me now and buy shares of Taco on Base. So let's try to fucking create value. Let's freaking do that. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I see, shout out to those that are joining us on Xenon. Shout out to those that are joining us on Unlonely. I see you there. I'm really excited for this. We're coming up. Friday is going to be episode 365. And this is really horrible. If we do the math, I think today was actually supposed to be our 1-year anniversary, or tomorrow, technically, episode 365. But right now, I think because I might have double dipped on the same number a few times. Friday is going to be our episode 365, and we are looking at for those that know or don't know their time zones, we are looking for that to be starting at around 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That will be noon EST, and we are going to be going for a long period. So that's going to be super fun. We're going to be going for a few hours just because we want to. Whether no one shows up or everyone shows up, who knows? But it's going to be fun. So in the meantime, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to end with our words of thoughts, words of wisdoms, and closing thoughts, and we're going to end with the worst joke on the face of the planet. and we're gonna go from there. And I hope everyone has a great night. You know, straight out to Red Devil Queen. We see you. We always sort of we stream every day. So yeah, thank you for joining us. You know, and with that, we end with our closing thoughts. Never, IRL activities is some of the best ways you can expand your circle and get outside of your echo chambers, because you never know what project you're going to miss or what project you're going to learn about if you're not stepping outside of your comfort zone. But that's also the opportunity for people to hear about what matters to you. So that's a really cool way of looking at it and building it out. And then on the same point, we're going to end with our words of wisdom, which is: our closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth. Meaning, if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity cannot come a knocking. And if it does and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. And with that, we end with the greatest, worst knock knock joke on the face of the planet. We want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we will see you tomorrow. I see you out there, Field Whisperer. Thank you so much for joining us. And with that, we end with knock knock. Who's there?